Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the channel. It's so nice to see you tuning in. This episode today is extra special. My name is Heather McDougall, for those of you that don't know me. And as almost all of you know, my father spent his life helping people take control of their health. But my mom, Mary McDougall, was behind the scenes making it all possible. She's the reason my family ate this way. She's the reason we have thousands of recipes and has really started a lot of the whole food, plant-based, oil-free movement. So she's here today to talk to us all about that. And lots of you have been asking about how she's been doing since my father passed. So we'll check in with her about that and a lot more. So settle in and let's welcome my mom, Mary McDougall. Hi, Mom. Really nice to see you. Thanks for
Hi,
being here.
hi. It's really great to be here, Heather. I sort of felt like I retired, about a year ago, and it's really nice to be back. Talk to the people and tell everybody I'm okay.
Well,
I'm
everyone's been asking.
I'm doing fine. The first few months were difficult, but I've learned to adapt, and I have my own routines now, and I have my own friend, and I will introduce you in a minute. I have a new friend.
I think she wants to be on camera. I hear her in the background.
She's already right here. Okay, well, we might as well just start out with her then. Oh, it looks nice now. This is Bailey, everybody. She's a Havanese, and she is about 8 months old. And she is a lot of company, great for me in the house, great on walks, and she has her own routine, and it has to be like this, or she's not happy. But she really brings me a lot of joy and gives me someone to talk to. I talk to her all the time, but I think she understands.
I love it. So I'm so glad that you have your companion to be by your side. But you've also been keeping busy with my oldest son, Jason, and my
Oh, if I didn't have Jason, Jason started at OSU, what, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, he's almost finished with junior year. And ever since he started there 3 years ago, he came up every weekend. And in the beginning, he came up on the bus, and he always came up Friday night, and we take him to the bus and he'd go home on Sunday. And then after a year or so, we decided it'd be easier just to give him our car. and it makes it much, he never uses the car at OSU, but it makes it so much easier for him to get here and get back home again. And so he comes every Friday afternoon and he leaves on Sunday. And depending on whether there's a Warriors game on or not, depends on what time he leaves. and Grandma gets to do his laundry and make his favorite foods, which I like.
just like your mom again.
Yeah.
I love it. And you've been staying busy during the week with my younger brother, and you've got friends in town. So
Well, we do actually. One of our oldest friends, and one of John's oldest friends, who helped him write the very first book, Elaine French, and her husband Jerry, who I think Dad actually took care of some of Jerry's kids when he first had his practice open in Kailua. And they just happened to live in a retirement community, about 15 or 20 minutes from here. So we saw them more often. They like to travel. They do a lot of vegan trips. And so right now they're in Croatia. But anyway, Elaine has been a friend for 40 years at least. And they just happen to live in town. So I see them every once in a while. We go out to vegan restaurants in Portland.
try to find the best food.
Oh my God. I mean, Portland is known for vegan restaurants, but most of them are so greasy, and they try to make the food taste like what they think Americans want to eat. And so you get a plate full of food and it's got grease all over it. So we found a few places that we like to go to that don't do that.
Well, let's talk about that. What are your favorite places to eat out? It's not like usually a vegan or vegetarian restaurant. I mean, we tend to go to different types of
We do
restaurants.
too. We have a Vietnamese place that makes really great vegan pho. So I can get vegan broth with just plain old tofu and red peppers and green onions and green beans. And if you look at the top of it, you can't even see any oil. So I'm pretty sure it's oil free. And they make a great veggie spring roll. And so that's not a vegan restaurant. And and we found there must be 50 pizza places just in Portland, and it's been hard to find a decent one. Even since John's been gone, Jason and I have been trying different ones, and they're just so greasy, really hard. So let's see. Our latest favorite was I forgot, Pizza Cat, I think. But we try new ones all the time. But it's hard. But last weekend, Jerry and Elaine and I went out to a place called Nora's, and they have a whole vegan menu, and you can adapt it to be no oil or add things to it. And a lot of the places in Portland that are vegan try to be way too fancy. So you get a little plate full of food about this big, and they think that's going to be enough. And there's nothing on there. So when we first started, I think a lot we would try different restaurants, but now that John is gone, Jason and I have sort of adapted to at least one meal on the weekend that we eat out at some place that's fairly healthy, and then he requests something that he wants made for the other night. So like last night we had the peanut noodle dish that we used to serve
the
at the
creamy
program.
Bangkok noodles.
Yeah,
So good.
it was really great. I hadn't made it in years. The first time I made it since we lived here, and it just turned out great, and it was so good. And he ate 2 bowls last night for dinner. I gave him 1 container to take home, and I have 1 container for me to eat tonight for dinner. And
It makes great leftovers. It's good hot or cold or room temperature. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever eaten it hot. I usually eat it at room temperature, or Jason says he likes it best cold. So it's great. And he'll ask for the sloppy lentil joes. And we have homemade burgers and air fries a lot for dinner. I think we eat different during basketball season, to tell you the truth. Because if there's a game on, we have to sit in front of the TV and watch the game. And then it's too much trouble to order. So I just make something quick. And
does he request
it's nice that he has favorites.
Does he ask?
In the winter, yes. But in the summer, he doesn't want. He said to me the other day, I don't want any more soups. Let's go with tofu tacos and eggless egg salad, and then the noodles, and then the noble burgers and air fries. We eat a lot of those. I'll probably get him with his gazpacho once before he leaves for summer break. I don't know if he likes it or not, but I'll give it a try.
He's pretty adventurous. He likes
He
almost
is.
anything. He's
He
good
is.
about that. He'd be a good tester. Let's talk about that. So my memories of being a kid are, I mean, you wrote all the recipes, you wrote cookbooks, you
Oh,
were always in the kitchen cooking, and I was your sous chef and your recipe tester. Sometimes it was great, and sometimes it was not so
you
great.
were. Oh, yeah. We threw a lot of things away, or took a bite and decided this was not not good. But when we started, Heather, it was like 40 years ago, and there were no vegan cookbooks for sure. Very few vegetarian cookbooks, and so I just started reading about food because I never learned to cook for my mom. My mom, unfortunately, my mom was a terrible cook. I mean, she made casseroles. Uh, breakfast was always cold cereal and milk. I mean, never. Uh, we had eggs maybe once a month, and that'd be for dinner, and that'd be like a surprise. Oh my, we get eggs. Yeah. It was I don't remember ever spending time in the kitchen cooking with her. I mean, she didn't even know how to make French toast. I don't ever remember having spaghetti or any kind of pasta with a marinara sauce on top of it when I was young. Never. She didn't like to cook, or she wasn't good at it, or my dad only liked certain things. I never really asked her why. I guess I just assumed that's what everybody else ate.
So that must have been really challenging when Dad came home and said, you need to now start cooking
Oh,
without meat, and then without dairy, and then without oil, when you didn't even know how to cook.
it was terrible. When we first got married and we moved into our own apartment, I found out that what he liked for breakfast was eggs and bacon every morning. And it wasn't just a couple eggs, it was, 3 or 4 or maybe more. And for me, it was like, I really didn't even know how to make eggs, because I think my dad made the eggs in our house. I don't think my mom even knew how. And so, and at that time, John really knew nothing about cholesterol or any of those things. I'm sure many of you remember him talking about his first exposure to anything different was Dennis Burkett at Blodgett Hospital, when he was doing before he was still in he was still in medical school, and he heard Dennis Burkett talk about how fiber was important. So he came. The first thing he did was come home and say we had to eat whole wheat bread instead of white bread. So it was. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was a big change for me, and I didn't know how to make. I had no idea how to make marinara sauce or any of those things. So I just started reading, and I learned what went into these things, and then I started adapting, and I figured out, well, you don't need oil to saute onions in. You can saute them in broth or water, and then you add healthy things to it. And but you're right, we did have a few failures. I remember the first time. This was before you were born. I tried to make something in Honolulu. It was like an egg pancake thing, and I tried to make it without eggs, and I mean, I don't even think we tried it. We just looked at it and said, nope, this is not it. So yes, it took a long time. And I started out with a few really basic recipes like soups and stews, because they're easy to adapt. Just like you have your favorite soups that you make all the time. And my split pea soup, um, you know, it was fairly easy to adapt. I just left out the ham bone and add other spices to it. And so those things were the things that we handed out to people in our practice in Kailua, because Dad would tell them how to eat, and there was nothing. And so I just had to sort of. So the first people that came to see us, they got one or two recipes, and then every week I work on something else, and we copy them on our copy machine and hand them out. And our first cookbook was what? Heal and Stay Healthy, or no?
Oh, man. Well, the Making the Change.
Making the Change, yeah.
On our website, you can download that.
The one with the rings.
I remember that, the 3 rings.
The 3 rings. So I could hand out recipes to people, and they could add them to their cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, it was a lot different. These days, you can go into grocery stores and find vegan foods. Not that they're all healthy.
Yeah, that might not be a good thing.
I
so much
know.
of the vegan foods are just as bad as the non-vegan.
You look at the ingredient list on some of these things, and it's like I can't even get through it. So I look for things that have, maybe 5 or 6 ingredients, and the last 2 are maybe spices and salt or something. But it's I still think it's easier now than it used to be.
Yeah, more accepted.
Because you remember we used to make our own milk for breakfast from almonds and cashews, because you couldn't go to the store and buy any kind of non-dairy milk. And now you can go into any supermarket around and find all kinds of choices. So,
same with tofu. Remember the tofu we had to buy in bulk bins, packaged?
Yeah. And now, you go into the regular grocery store, there's probably 5 or 6 different choices from different companies that make firm and soft, and but yeah, big difference.
So let's talk about what it was like raising kids way back then. I know what it was like being a kid eating this way back then. What was it like raising us 3? You had 3 little kids.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I got a few complaints.
From us?
Oh, no.
Why do we have to eat this way?
Well, you guys always went to private schools. And so I always had to pack lunches. And actually, you were the easiest, because there were a few things that you liked that I would make that you'd be happy to take to school and eat as a leftover. But I also remember many stories of you coming home and saying, God, why do I have to eat this stuff? Nobody else eats like this. And nobody will eat any of the stuff that I'm eating.
Nobody would trade with me.
Nobody would trade with you. And I also remember your, let's see, what would I call it? Snack food on the way home before you caught the bus.
My rebellious era.
Yeah. But it was okay. We never tried to make a big deal. We tried to tell you why this was better for you and why we didn't eat that way. But even when we went out to eat as a family, we never told you guys what you couldn't order. We let you explore and try stuff that you wanted to try. And a lot of times, you didn't feel so well afterward. And we used that as a teaching experience. And instead of saying, no, we really don't want you to eat that, we'd say, okay, go ahead. I can still remember your first trip to Disneyland on the airplane with Dad. And he let you order whatever you wanted because you flew first class. And he let you order whatever you wanted. And he
I
never
still
said a word
remember
about it.
that. Like my first filet mignon, that was the biggest deal ever. I'd never had anything like it.
Yeah.
Dad must have just been cringing on the inside, but that was always what you guys did. You fed us this food at home. You taught us the importance of healthy food, and then you let us make our own choices outside of the house. And I think that was really helpful.
And I think it still is because I see it in my grandkids. They mostly, what I find is that most of them focus on simple things like pasta and marinara sauce, or God, that's a favorite. They never really asked me to make complicated things. And it's like the split pea soup. That'll often be a request in the winter, and my only granddaughter who lives here, her request is always mashed potatoes and gravy. And so I think kids like simple things best, that they can actually see what's on their plate instead of all this weird stuff. But if you look at my cookbooks, there are over 4,000 recipes, and some of them are difficult to make and take a long time. And but they're never really requests, except for the spinach lasagna, which is always a birthday request. And that's pretty much
with the very benevolent Caesar salad dressing.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, and I want to mention all these recipes that we're talking about can be found on our website at drmcdougall.com. So, we make the recipes that we, share with you on our website, and those are some of our favorites. And P2 is asking what sort of foods I feed my family, and a lot of the same things that you're talking about, but we do bowls a lot. That's
yeah.
big, just because it's so easy. They make great leftovers. I can make a lot of the food ahead of time. People can make their own bowls. So it's basically a starch, a grain, rice, quinoa, or pasta, or potatoes, and then veggies of some sort
And you
sauteed.
probably do it buffet style, right?
Oh,
On your
yeah.
counter, and you have all the bowls separately. I do that too.
It makes it easy.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets what they want. They can put their own sauce on, their own hot sauce. We do that a lot.
Yeah.
And so we do themes. So like Mexican bowls or Italian bowls, Mediterranean bowls, pasta bowls,
and a lot of the stuff that goes into the bowl as the basis of the bowl is the same for all of them. And then you just maybe change the vegetables or the sauce that goes over them. And so yeah, I do. I still make bowls even for myself.
Can you talk a little bit about your favorite kitchen gadgets? I know you used to have a lot more. Now you've simplified.
Oh,
but what do you use?
Well, my favorite
I
kitchen
know.
gadget is the crock pot.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it came out first, and I learned how to use it. And I bet you can't remember. There had to be a crock pot full of something on the counter at least 2 days a week.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Different kind of beans, mostly beans. I experimented with a lot of different kind of beans because, back then, health food stores were not like they are now. They were stores that had big bins in them filled with different kinds of beans and grains, and you just put the stuff together. So I always had a crock pot going. So I don't
Well,
use it.
also, I want to add that my middle brother is very, very picky. You cooked more simply, I think, to make him happy. Like lots of bean soups. Like bean soup was one of
Oh,
our. You made that all the time because that
all
was
the
one
time.
of the few things he really liked.
And Heather, he still eats that way. And his kids eat that way. They're the very same way. They like pasta with red sauce, or uh, they like very simple bowls with beans, and put some rice on it, and a few veggies. When we were talking about Chloe, my only granddaughter, yesterday, what she wanted was fried rice. But fried rice to her is just rice and veggies and a little soy sauce, and very, very simple. And so I think that the best advice I would give to someone is try and keep it as simple as possible. Don't spend 2 hours in the kitchen making something. Keep it simple. And if you do like we were talking about the bowls, then you can feed the whole family, because everybody can choose what they like the best to put in their bowl, rather than you making the dinner and then having them say, "Oh, I don't like this." They get to choose. And I still do that with pasta and marinara sauce, and then different veggies or toppings they maybe want to put on it, or stir it in. Jason is a lot more willing to experiment than I'd have to say any of you guys were, or any of your other kids are, or any of my other grandchildren. I mean, he'll try anything that I make. And then, I mean, even yesterday, in the middle of making the peanut noodles, he had to sample them in the middle of it, and he said, "Grandma, they need to be spicier." So, we had to put more sriracha sauce in them. So I mean, he's always willing to try something out. I think if you can get your kids involved in the kitchen with you, I used to always have you kids chopping stuff, especially in our second house in not in Honolulu, but the one in Santa Rosa, where I had that huge butcher block island. Now I'd get all you guys up there with your knives, careful knives, and have you chop things. And I don't remember too many cut fingers. You were always pretty careful. And so I think even now, in Patrick's family, the middle son, he cooks the most at home. And Craig, the youngest, he also cooks the most at home. Just because they learned how to make things that they like, and they learned to make simple things, and their kids like the simple things the best. So
Mom Louise is wondering what your favorite soup is besides split pea.
Favorite soup. Yeah. Oh, probably bean soup, because I take beans, any kind of beans, and I put them in the crock pot, and I let them cook all day, and then kind of whatever I'm in the mood for, I can add the spices. Like I have combination containers of like Moroccan spices, or Jamaican spices, or Cajun spices. And so I'll change the beans and the water will be the same, but the spice will be different. And it's hard to take any work at all. Just put those beans and water in a crock pot, let them go all day, and then at the end of the day, decide how you want them to taste.
That's a good idea. And then you could add like, potatoes or brown rice or pasta or any grain as base and put the beans.
Well, that's your favorite soup, is what you call your kitchen sink soup, when you throw everything in the pot.
I love that. It's easy.
Yeah.
I think you'll hear from all of us that we like to keep it simple. We don't like to spend a ton of time in the kitchen. We just have these tried and true recipes that we cook over and over. And sure, there are times when we go all out and spend a lot more time in the kitchen and have special meals, but it's really nice to have those simple meals that you fall back on and you don't have to think about, or you always have in your pantry or fridge or freezer.
And your kids probably like those the best too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like Mexican or pasta or split pea or the Moroccan red lentil. That's our favorite. We love that.
I make that once a week, probably, ever since we moved up here, or maybe even in Santa Rosa. The Moroccan, the Moroccan one is the one with the orzo in it. So that's the one that Jason likes best. The Moroccan red lentil soup with orzo. But I used to make the red lentil dal, or what do we call it? A hearty lentil dal.
Oh, yes.
With just, so you use, the split red lentils and water, and you add potatoes and a can of tomatoes and some onions and garlic, and I usually ended up almost always adding a green at the end, like spinach or chard or something like that, but which is not necessary.
I do it. I like it. I think it tastes good, but it just makes it look prettier.
It does.
Green
it does. It does.
It takes a second. Good. Okay. Those soups are very simple, easy to make, can be found on our website. Someone was writing in the chat about Rose Grace, about the Kirkland no salt seasening that she buys on Amazon now.
Oh, yeah. I tell you, when I discovered that, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, when they used to sell it at Costco. I buy this big container of it and I use it, and I add it to everything, and along with other things. And I was so disappointed when Costco stopped carrying it. And then I found it on Amazon. Yeah, it's still named Kirkland, but I just buy it on Amazon now. And so that's one dependable. You can almost, there's it's got 21 different spices in it. So you can add it to things, and so I still use that. But I also found these little containers, and I probably also on Amazon, and they're little tiny. I could go get them. They're little silver containers that are about this tall, and they actually are magnetized, so they stick together. So my cupboards are not that big, so I can stack them 3 high in my spice cupboard. And one's Moroccan, and one's Cajun, and one's Jamaican, and one is there's 6 of them, and I use those a lot. And I start out the same thing and do the same. Put the beans in the water in a pot, and let's see. Our 2 favorite beans are Great Northern or cannellini, or pinto, or what's the one that little creamier? But I guess right now I have pintos that I use a lot.
Oh, the
And
cranberry beans.
oh, cranberry,
Yeah,
yes.
those are
They're
great.
a little bit softer and they taste a little bit smoother. But very often I'll just have a pot of those going and then I'll decide about an hour before I'm going to eat which spice I feel like adding to it. And I'll just take one of those little containers and put a teaspoon or two in and let it cook for, 5 or 10 minutes and then taste and see if it needs a little bit more. And so again, I mean, how can it get more simple than that? It probably takes me 5 minutes to make a meal. And we would oftentimes eat them with there's a natural food store in town called New Seasons, and they make a fat-free corned wheat mix tortilla. I know you can get them all over, so I get those there, and we would all often use those and dunk those into our soup. I mean, I always had serve grandpa soup, a big bowl of soup with a couple of warm tortillas on top. And but still, I mean, it probably took me 10 minutes total when you count, putting the beans and water into the pot. So, it took me a little longer to make the peanut noodles yesterday because it's been a long time. I mean, I actually had to get out the recipe and read it and follow the recipe because it's been such a long time since I made it. I'll make it again now, and it was familiar after I started it, but man, it's a lot more work than just throwing a bunch of water and beans into a pot.
Well, I know your style of cooking has simplified, as you've gotten older. I mean, even you and Dad were eating more simply, and I know you
Yeah,
eat, more simply now, but you can go more elaborate with the creamy Bangkok noodles and
yeah, yeah. It took me a little longer to make than I remember, but it's funny because I still couldn't get my two youngest grandkids to try it. Neither Logan nor Chloe. I mean, Jason was up there eating them while I was making them, and they all came over and looked at them. And I guess it's because I've never made them before for them. And no, I'm not. I'm not gonna try them. I said, well, just try a bite. No, no, not having that. So I made fried rice for Chloe. Just simple. I mean, there's all kinds of recipes online. But Logan's Logan's most requested meal, like for birthdays and stuff, is grandma's lasagna. For some reason, he does. I'm sure his mom uses the same recipe, but he doesn't like her lasagna. He only likes mine. So when it's his birthday, that's what he requests is grandma's lasagna. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of what you expose them to. And I don't know, it seems like the simpler I make things, the more they're willing to try them because they can actually see the food on the plate. You know, they can see, oh, these are potatoes and these are, oh, we found this great restaurant. Yeah, just this past weekend, and Jason ordered bok choy, and they made it absolutely perfect. It wasn't too soggy or too crisp. It was just right. It was like, oh, I think we'll go there again and get bok choy. It was great, and the kids ate it too. And what it reminded me of was when your boys used to come to our house when we lived on the cul-de-sac, and Grandpa and I had this bench underneath a tree in front of the road in front of and the boys used to ride their scooters up and down over the hills. They made trails and stuff like that. And I would come out with a container of steamed green beans or steamed broccolini, and they would drive by and pick up one as they went by, and that was their snack. And they were perfectly happy. They didn't ask for some bag of chips or something. It was, what do you want to have while you're doing your loops on your scooters? How about broccolini today? So we would go out and sit under that tree and watch them on their scooters. And I mean, Ryan had to be 10 years younger than he is now. At least he was probably 6. And so that means Ben would have been 8 and Jason would have been about 10 or 11. And they were all out there eating just steamed veggies for snacks. So I guess it's a matter of what you offer and what you have available. You know, I bet probably if I had had a bag of, I don't know what they like. Snack wise, chips or if I didn't have that kind of stuff, except for corn chips and salsa. They like that, or corn chips and guacamole. We had a lot of guacamole meals. And I remember Ryan learning how to make guacamole and tasting it and then getting it just the way he liked it.
So now he does that. He makes avocado toast.
That's does he?
Yes.
Well, Jason does too, actually. He buys avocados. And now they have something that comes in a package that's called Holy Avocado, WHOLLY. And they're these little trays of cut up avocado, and they stay fresh and green. And Jason and I have discovered it takes about a week after you buy them before they're really soft enough to spread on toast, but they never go brown. They never turn bad. And so we still buy whole avocados too and use those, but they're kind of nice to have as, you know, I use them sometimes to make avocado toast just for myself. You know, I don't want to cut up a whole avocado, so I'll use those. So, you know, there are some things that you can find in the grocery store if you look, but it takes time.
There are a few. You got to read the label, read the ingredients. But I do want to. We're talking about avocados. I want to throw out a word of caution. Avocados are great. They're a healthy food, but they're high in fat, high in calories. So if weight loss is your goal, I wouldn't recommend eating avocados, or at least not a lot of avocado. But if you want to gain weight, or you're at a happy weight, or if you have teenage boys or kids, avocado, nuts, seeds can absolutely be part of a healthy diet. So just wanted to that little asterisk avocado.
Kids, teenagers and kids, like, I mean, Logan will eat, he's 10. He'll eat all day long. And even Jason at 21, I mean, he gets up and he waits a couple hours in the morning before he starts eating, but then he eats the rest of the day until after I go off to bed. He's still eating something. I can't, the amount of food he puts away, and he still, I mean, he works out all the time with the weights that I have here that I work out with my personal trainer with, and he is doing push-ups on the floor last night just to build up muscle, and he's very strong, and he's not overweight at all, and yet he eats all day long. So it really makes a difference at how much exercise you do. I think I have a personal trainer that comes to see me twice a week for an hour. And then I walk Bailey every day. And so I think that the amount of food I can eat would be more than if I just sat on the couch all day long, because I'm out doing something. And so your exercise fits into how much you eat. If you get no exercise at all, then you don't need nearly as many calories as you do if you're running around doing stuff and doing exercise and walking. And I mean, I've just absolute great place, right in front of our condo, right on the river, that John and I used to walk all the time. And now
you and Bailey do it.
It was really hard last summer to walk it by myself, and it wasn't any fun. So now I take Bailey, and she's always there. So I see her, and if I don't go, I feel guilty, because I feel like, oh, she has to get out and get some exercise. And so we have this route that we take, and we go and we just walk around the park and walk along the waterfront. And we have this funny little thing that I have to share with you. When John and I used to walk it, we had these favorite benches all around the park, some depending on where the sun was. And so we get sun on our face, or we want to look at the water. And now Bailey and I walk by the benches, and every time we go by, we always say, hi, Grandpa, how you doing? And Bailey knows. I say, we're going to Grandpa's bench, and she knows exactly which way to go. And so you learn to cope, and you learn to find new things to do. And that's what keeps me going, I guess.
I love it. Everyone is so happy to see you and hear from you. Lots of really wonderful comments in the chat. So
it's really nice to be back. I kind of missed all the talks we used to do.
I know you did. I know. Now that we've been back and doing it, you've been doing it during our 12-day program and our alumni meetings, and I've seen how much you've enjoyed it. So
I have.
Really great to have you back.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who hates to cook? How would you get them motivated? What would you tell them?
Tell them to buy a crock pot and buy some beans and throw the beans in with the water, and then just turn it on and leave it for the whole day. And then just add spices or things like that at the end of the day. Because for me, that's the least amount of work. You don't have to know how to cook or even like to cook, but you have to eat. And probably my second favorite thing is to make a whole platter or a whole baking dish of baked potatoes. And I'll eat one for dinner one night, and I'll eat one for dinner at lunch. I mean, yeah, that gets a little boring, but if you don't like to cook and you want to eat healthy, try to keep it as simple as possible, because then you'll do it. If you try and make it a big deal out of it, and you say, oh God, I have to spend a half an hour doing this, it gets to be overwhelming sometimes, and it makes people decide, I can't do this, or it's way too much work. Even though they get results, it's still, the results sometimes are not enough. It's like, it's too much work to get what I'm getting from it. I hear
that all the time. People will be doing well, losing weight, but they're like, it's just too hard. I just couldn't do it. You know? That's not sustainable.
Yeah. If you can't make it easy, you won't stick to it. So the easier you can do it, and if you like pasta, then make pasta. you can buy healthy jarred marinara sauce to go over it. If you like potatoes, then just make a bunch of potatoes. You got to have a starch. You can't just eat bok choy. Although I think one of the nights last weekend, Jason ate a whole huge container just bok choy. He ate his starch later, but you have to find some starch that you like, and so that's why I'd say, buy a really simple crock pot without all those things on it. My favorite crock pot just said on, warm, on, and high, and off. And I think when I replaced the last one after I broke the ceramic container that goes inside, I bought another one, and that one had the one in the middle that I broke the container had more buttons, and I didn't like it. So the one I bought after that, now it says off, warm, low, high. and so you can still buy those. So if you like beans, yes, it might take a few weeks to get used to eating beans, but it can hardly be any easier. Or let's see, quinoa. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like quinoa, but you don't really have to do anything to it except heat it up.
But any grain, they have all those rices that you have in the pantry that are aseptically packaged or in the freezer. You just peel it open, heat it up, and put some stew over the top. Delicious, simple.
I very rarely make brown rice from scratch anymore. I have frozen brown rice in my freezer. It's the same. There's nothing in it. It's just rice. It's frozen. You put it in the microwave for a couple of minutes and it's done. So I bought a rice cooker when we moved here, and it's now sitting in the back of one of my bottom drawers because I don't use it. I just use frozen rice or aseptically packaged rice. And so if you really spend the time looking around, I think you can find a lot of really simple things. But you have to find one or two things that you really like one or two starches that you really like. And for me, it would be either potatoes or beans, probably. And my third choice would be pasta. But I think for all my grandkids, their first choice would be pasta.
Thank you. So we've just got a few minutes left. This has been so great, Mom. Thank you.
Oh, it's been fun. Well, we'll have to do it again because there's so many things we could talk about.
Oh my goodness. You've been doing this for, almost 50 years.
Yes.
So things that you've seen and done and experienced, it's just been, we couldn't fit it in one show.
No, we'll definitely have to do it again because it's fun. And what's fun for me is trying to make it simple enough for people to do this, because if it's not simple, they're not going to do it. I mean, yeah, there are some people that love to spend all afternoon cooking in the kitchen, but I'm afraid I'm not one of them. Even though I've done it, and made some fancy things, but those things I make so rarely that I would not consider them staples in my what I would make often. Just no. I mean, the simpler the better. And especially now that I'm alone, or even for Jason on the weekends, he's like simple stuff too. So
Something easy to fill us up so we can get on and do the other things we
yeah,
want.
yeah.
Thanks, Mom. So, looking back, how do you feel about the impact that you and Dad have made?
Oh,
You guys were at the start of it all.
oh,
It's
I know.
amazing what
Oh,
you've
it,
done.
it was just it was a real change, Heather. I mean, I could tell some stories. Do I have time to tell? I have time to tell one story. When John and I first moved to Honolulu, we were not healthy eaters, except for we ate brown bread because he learned that early. But we were both smokers. I remember this was 1972, and I remember going to the grocery store and walking down the aisles of the grocery store with a cigarette in my hand, and everybody else did too. I mean, I look at it now, I think, God, Mary, how awful. But what a long way we've come. And I think even from those days, I mean, John used to tell stories about when we did shows about us walking out of the operating room into the doctor's lounge, and it was a smoke filled room because everybody smoked, all the doctors, everybody. And look at how much has changed. I mean, yeah, it's taken a long time, but you would never see that anymore. So I'm really hopeful that at least we made a difference in how people look at food. And I know that everybody out there does not believe that starches are not fattening, and but I do think that we've made a difference in how people look at food. It's not, the less processed, the better. There are, I don't even like to walk through the grocery store anymore because it's filled with all this processed junk. And you see people check out and their basket is just filled with all this junk because the companies keep making it and people keep buying it. And so what I hope that people really take away from what we've tried to teach people is that as unprocessed as possible and as starch filled as possible, with as little nuts and seeds as you feel your body needs, whether for weight or for exercise or for whatever. And so that's what I hope, is that people have learned that. And I know now there's this big fight about whether you ought to add oil to stuff. And, I can't get into it. People make their own choices. And there's so much information out there that shows that just a tablespoon of oil adds 500 calories to something. And you don't need it for taste or for health or for anything else. But they'll probably be fighting about that for the next 10 years.
Well, I think with 75% of Americans overweight or obese, we don't need to be putting an okay on oil. We don't need
No.
more fat. We're
No.
getting plenty. Well, you and Dad have made an incredible difference. It's really wonderful to see and to hear from our community. I get emails all the time about the lives that you've changed, you and Dad, and you should be really
I
proud
love
of
that.
them.
I love that. I'm really happy that we were able to help so many people because if we weren't there, who knows what would have happened to those people. So, I'm just glad that we were there and we started and we could help people because that was the whole point. And So I think that's what I'm most thankful for, is that we were able to help so many people lose weight, get their health back, and do what they want to do. And I'm trying to do that myself. You know, I wouldn't have to work out with a personal trainer. I could just sit on my couch all day. Nobody's going to bug me. Oh, Bailey might. She wanted to go for a walk or something, but nobody else is going to say, Mary, get out there and do something. But I do it because I know that's the only way that I'm going to stay healthy and live long enough to see the rest of my grandkids grow up.
That's right. You've got to, it's the food, you've got to eat well and move more.
And move more, yes.
Thanks, Mom. Our hour's up. That was
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it went by so fast.
It did. We'll do it again.
We will. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Oh, thank you, everyone. It was great.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time. Our next YouTube Live is going to be in 2 weeks, Monday, the 26th, Memorial Day, and we will be with Jack Dixon. He is the McDougall Program Personal Trainer.
Oh, you need him.
He's great. Even if you hate exercise, he's great.
Yeah, he's great.
Thanks again, Mom. It's been wonderful spending this hour with you. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. It was really fun.